On October 15th, despite pouring rain, about 75 people gathered here in Helena in Hill Park in support of the Occupy Wall Street movement. We decided on that exciting first day that we would be a nonviolent, leaderless, people-powered movement for democracy and accountability in the United States government. We gathered in solidarity with the Occupy Wall Street movement in New York City and the growing number of cities around the country whose people will no longer stand back and watch our government be run by corporate and special interests. We are the citizens of the United States, and this country is ours. It's time that we take it back. Welcome to the first edition of The O Show, a production of Occupy Helena. We're here today because we'd like to introduce you to a few of the individual voices from amongst the Occupy Helena group and to invite you to share in the conversation. My name is Emily Waugh. This is Frank Krumkowski, Wendy Fox, and Alex Gray. Wendy, would you get us started by telling us a little bit about why you got involved in the Occupy movement?
Sure. Some of the interests that Occupy Wall Street feels are important, I became really interested in about a year ago when I saw a documentary film called Inside Job, which details some of the story around the 2008 financial meltdown and shows that it was not an accident, that there were massive private gains at public loss. And just to give you some of the figures from that meltdown, it doubled the U.S. debt, it cost 30 million jobs, cost tens of trillions of dollars to the world, led to a global recession, and it added to the income disparity in this country, which is greater than in any other country in the world, and also helps explain the fact that 1% of the population in this country owns 47% of the wealth. And the people in the 1% would like to keep this situation hidden, but the people in the 99% want things to change. And I'm particularly interested in the situation with investment banks, who in the 10 years leading up to the crash in 2008 paid 3,000 lobbyists $5 billion to lobby for policies that are beneficial to investment banks. We also have the Glass-Steagall Act, which was a major financial regulation passed after the Depression, which was in effect until about 1999 and worked very well. When that was repealed, you now have investment banks that can make very, very risky investments with basically our money. They can package them with subprime mortgages so that they're very, very toxic. And they've also paid rating agencies to give them a AAA rating. So on the one hand, they're trying to sell them to investors saying these are a really good product. On the other hand, they're paying insurance agencies like AIG for policies to bet against these same packaged loans. I think it's immoral, it's unjust, and in some cases it's illegal, and it's got to stop. The 99% has lost homes, jobs, savings, and again, it's privatizing profit and socializing the loss. And I'm tired of it, so I've become involved with Occupy Helena. And what I really appreciate about Occupy Helena is the passion and the dedication of the people involved in this movement. It's a challenge to the system that benefits the few at the expense of the many. And the people in Occupy Helena are interested in educating themselves and others so that we can change this system and make it better for the 99%. And I'll just finish with a quote by a history professor named Juan Cole at the University of Michigan, who speaks about what the protesters are objecting to. He says they are objecting to, above all, the substitution of the market for all other values as the matrix of human ethics and life. Frank, what about you?
Well, I'm participating in Occupy Helena because I want a decent future for my 6 grandchildren, and also for those beautiful children that I came to know and love when I was a Sunday school teacher for 18 years in various churches here in Helena. They deserve a future that is not stolen and threatened by these Wall Street millionaires whose greed led to the September 2008 financial meltdown that took so many people's savings and houses and lives. Now, there's really no end to this. Troubles that have been caused by the Wall Street greed and the wizards at Wall Street who whose financial wheeling and dealing led to all this, this trouble. Right now, in addition to what Wendy, you just said, there are another 6 million people who are in danger of being foreclosed upon for their homes. This is a tremendous suffering that's continuing. And I just don't hate the people of Wall Street for having done this, because hate's not productive and it's wrong. But I have no respect for the greed and the wheeling and dealing that they had, which led to this catastrophe. Now, my friend and second father, Reverend Bob Holmes, once said and prayed, as we often did. He said, "Lord, a lot of your people are hurting down here tonight." And that's more true now than ever in my whole life. And I'm 67 now, and so I've been around for a little while. And I've seen lots of troubles and good times, mostly troubles. Now, his answer and mine to this kind of situation where we see our fellow human beings suffering because of someone's greed or irresponsible behavior, such as the Wall Street reckless actions that led to the financial meltdown in September 2008, our answer is not to have just a few more changes, scraps for the hungry, shelters for the homeless. But what we need is a basic political change, a transformation of the politics and economics so that Wall Street doesn't rule this situation anymore. And that's one of the reasons I'm part of Occupy Helena. I know it's not going to be easy. I've been involved in peace and justice activities since about 1963, when I was just a kid, I guess. And now I'm 67, and people are asking me to play Santa Claus a lot more than they used to. So I know over the years how things in perspectives change. But basically, I knew even back then that the situation in our country was that the politics and economics was ruled by Wall Street and the big corporations, and especially those corporations that make huge profits from wars. They make a lot of profit when we go to war, and they suffer very little compared to our soldiers and veterans who are suffering in great numbers from these irresponsible wars that we've gotten into that have taken billions of dollars, actually trillions of dollars. Well, I feel sometimes near despair when I see all of this. I know I can't give up. I come from a family in which the value of always standing up for what is right, especially for the most vulnerable, was a basic value. My mom and dad always said, you don't march in the parade when the parade's marching in the wrong direction. Now, the direction that Wall Street's taking us is a direction in which people are getting into a deeper and deeper hole. And how we're going to get out of this hole is not clear to anybody. And so it's a great crisis for anyone. But like I say, I'm sticking with my mom and dad, who said, "Frank, put your energies into making sure you protect the least of the brethren." That's the word of Jesus from the Gospels. And that's the tradition I come from. But it's the tradition that I honor and I'm trying to be faithful to. As far as I can see, the Wall Street people who caused this mess that we're in now, and the big corporations who profit right now at record numbers, levels of profit, have never cared for these values. And so I'm not sticking with them, I'm sticking with Occupy Helena. Because the people I found in Occupy Helena are people like Wendy and others who do their research, who have great hearts, and their hearts have been open to the suffering of people who have been hurt by Wall Street greed. I'm also saying that one of the things I like about Occupy Helena and why I'm staying with it, I'm going all the way with it, is that the people of Occupy Helena are people of hope. When most people in our society have kind of given up hope that we could change the system for the better and really get rid of Wall Street rule and its corporate greed. But I think it's possible that a new world can be born. I think Occupy Helena can be part of it, and I want to commit myself for the remaining time I have on Earth, really probably, which is going to take, to being part of the solution to replace Wall Street rule with democratic rule by the people, and especially for those people who are most hurt by this system. That's my story, Emily. How about yours?
Well, I've been frustrated with the way our government runs since I was old enough really to understand. I remember the really rude awakening that I received in my AP government class as I learned all the ways that our democracy has become clouded since the founding of this country. It's no longer really a direct democracy. The direct needs and wants of the great majority of people in this country are not necessarily reflected in Washington, and it was really disheartening to learn. I went from being this sort of naive idealist to waking up to the rude realities. And I spent years after high school searching for a solution or an answer. I was hungry for any information I could find. I read everything I could, and unfortunately I didn't find the answers I was looking for. I just became more and more frustrated because I learned about the entanglement of political candidates with large corporate donors and the exceptional reach and influence of special interest lobbyists in Washington. But the most infuriating part for me was that no one else seemed to notice. No one was talking about the issues that to me meant that none of us as individuals actually had a voice. A lot of people seemed disheartened, like, oh, my vote doesn't matter, but wouldn't talk about the root of the issues. And that's what really drew me to the Occupy Wall Street movement. I was amazed that suddenly there was this crowd of people shouting about the issues I had been frustrated about for so long. And I think the recession that started in 2008 was really the tipping point for that, because these practices that had been in play for so long were now so blatant and so egregious that we just couldn't ignore them anymore. We literally watched our tax dollars bail out these large banks and turn right around to become bonuses for millionaire and billionaire CEOs. So a lot of people got angry, and I think that's what began or was the root of this movement, to get people talking about it. When it first started and we saw the things online about Occupy Wall Street, I kind of watched in silent awe for a while because I'm a pretty non-confrontational person. I have really strongly held beliefs, but I don't talk about them a lot because I would prefer to keep the peace, I suppose. But it hit me after about a week that now is the time to do something, because now is the time that I think that we can actually make a change. There's enough of us talking about it, and if we stand up for the issues that we've been talking about for so long, then maybe we can do something. So the two issues that are the most important to me are the issue of the buying and controlling of candidates through campaign donations and what is essentially legal bribery of our representatives in Washington. So as long as those remain central issues to the discussion in Occupy Helena, I'm going to be a part of it. And it's pretty amazing to be a part of, because the Occupy Helena movement is what I hope that our country as a whole can be. It is a direct democratic process. We make every decision through consensus, and everyone has a chance to speak and for their voice to be represented. So it's a movement that I'm proud to be a part of, really. Alex, what about you?
I'm here because, much as you do, I feel that our country's been occupied. Can I stop this?
Microphone issues.
Sorry. Okay, I feel that our government has been occupied by Wall Street for quite some time now. I tried my hand at getting involved in politics as soon as I got out of high school, and quickly became disenfranchised. I quickly felt that the only way to have any influence in this system is to have money, and how wrong is that? That's not what I grew up believing is right. So there's many consequences of this corporate occupation, many ways that it's obvious. It's evidenced by the 5-to-1 lobbyist to legislature ratio in Washington, meaning for every congressman we have, there's 5 legislators trying to get him to do something in the name of big business. It is shown when one looks at the recent Supreme Court decision that declares corporations people and their money speech. It is apparent by the outsourcing of American jobs to less than friendly nations. It is proven in the ability for a company to take minerals from the ground, and then when all the minerals are gone, simply pack up and leave, leaving the community and taxpayers to clean up the mess. It's obvious by the giving of government contracts to the biggest campaign donors. It's evidenced by the effective tax rates of corporations earning billions of dollars being lower than the average Helenan. The consequences of Wall Street's occupation of Washington include poor decisions based on money, not logic, include the creation of a new nobility of corporate people. They're felt in the loss of our jobs and livelihoods, our water and air quality, and our sense of justice. The consequences are seen in wars ordered by companies to give in order for them to land lucrative contracts, and it is evidence in the loss of confidence in our government. I'm here because it is the only way I see of effecting the change necessary for our country to take care of all of its people. What I like about being in this group is that I get a chance to be in touch with intelligent, caring people who are active, who not only recognize a problem, but want to come up with ways to fix the problem and actually do something about it. I know a lot of YouTube warriors who are very active online, but they just can't seem to make that leap to the real world and realizing that they have the power to affect real change. And I think that's something that the corporate takeover of our government has done to us, is it's made us think that we don't have the power, that only those with a lot of money have power, and that's just not right. I'd like to end my little bit here with a quote. "The end of democracy and the defeat of the American Revolution will occur when government falls into the hands of lending institutions and moneyed corporations." Thomas Jefferson.
Thank you. Now that we've all sort of shared why we're here, I wonder if we could talk a little bit about what we've done. We're running a little low on time, so we might just talk about some of the big events we've had so far and what we're planning to do in the future. Frank, can you tell us about what happened on October 29th?
Well, on October 29th, about 140 people from all across Montana came to Helena for an event that we called Occupy the Capitol. And there were people there from at least 16 Montana towns, big towns, but little towns like Helmville, Victor, Anaconda, Boulder were represented. We greeted old friends, made signs that reflected our themes. We marched from there to the Capitol, had a rally there where we had reports from all the different groups across the state who were involved in Occupy Montana. Then we marched back into downtown Helena, met at Women's Park. We prepared soup and bread for all the 80 participants who were still there at that time, of the 140 who were at the event. And we held our first statewide General Assembly, in which we committed ourselves to keeping in communication and building the 99% grassroots movement all across Montana.
Alex, can you tell us really quick what a General Assembly is?
Sure. A General Assembly is the heart of our movement, basically. It's an assembly of people where we all get together, we talk about issues, talk about problems, propose solutions to the problems, and then through a process called consensus, actually come to agreement on what we should do about it. Consensus is something that I think is really great. It means that almost everybody has to be on board with the decision. It really has to have the support of the entire group for it to pass the consensus process. And the benefit of that is that while it may take longer to reach agreement because everybody gets their say in things, we usually come up with an agreement that everybody stands behind, everybody feels committed to. If we devote ourselves to a project, everybody is going to take part in it and they're going to put everything they have into it because they were part of that process. Whereas if you're just told to do something, sure, you might do it, but you're not going to do it with the passion and drive that you would when you're a part of the process. And I think that's the coolest thing that this whole movement has to offer, is the fact that direct democracy is available to everybody through the form of a General Assembly.
And Wendy, will you close us by letting us know a little bit about the future plans for Occupy Helena?
Sure. With winter coming on, we're looking at ways to develop and expand the movement and welcome new people into it. And depending on how much time and what people's interests are, there are lots of different ways to get involved. We still have our General Assembly meetings on Saturday at 3 o'clock. The location changes, but you can find that out on our website, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. We also have smaller working group meetings, which include a group like this, an HCTV group, media, internet, community connections. Some of the top priorities that we're looking at for the next few months include a campaign to support Buy Local, Bank Local. Also sponsoring teach-ins and lectures. We're looking at having a teach-in perhaps in January to look at the whole problem of student loan debt. And our next activity, which is coming up, is a free film screening on December 11th, which is a Sunday, at the library. It's the film The Corporation, The Pathological Pursuit of Profit and Power. And so we hope everybody can join us there at 1 o'clock. And We look forward to networking, and we look forward to meeting you.
We did it.